there, and welcome to the Liverpool versus Brighton preview. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here, but let's get straight into some Liverpool talk straight away. Now, before I talk about the match, I want to talk a little bit about Loris Karius. I think that Karius is on his way to Besiktas. I think that is the team that he is on his way to. Whether he's being sold or on a loan, I actually really haven't looked into the details of it, to be honest. I think there's a fee attached to him going to Besiktas, so I assume that he's being sold. And I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, to be honest. If obviously it looks like he's on his way there, and he's going to be a Besiktas player for the season, and we're going to be keeping Mignolet around as number 2, and I don't agree with that. I really don't. I think that Karius, for our style of football, regardless of the mistakes that he's made, and his mistakes have been far fewer than Mignolet in terms of leading to a goal and stuff like that, he suits our style of play much better. While he's not going to be on the level of Alisson, who obviously is a tremendous goalkeeper, sticking with Mignolet, which actually a lot of fans are a fan of. They wanted to see Karius go out on loan and keep Mignolet as the number 2, and I don't get it, because Mignolet's stats are awful when you stack them up against Karius. Never mind when you stack them up against Alisson. So I don't understand it. Fans seem to be, really, that's okay, let's get Karius out of the club. I'm not a fan of that. I think that he should have been stuck around as a number 2, but this is where we're at. I don't agree with it, but it looks like he's going to be on his way out. Anyway, let's get into the preview for Liverpool versus Brighton. Liverpool will be at home at Anfield on Saturday at 5:30, and we will be hosting Brighton, a team that, from what I'm reading here, we have won our last 5 matches against Brighton, scoring 20 goals and conceding only 5, which is that's a great stat. That really is a great stat. And what I'm liking about it at the moment is, I don't know if we're going to concede a great amount of goals in this game. I don't know if we're going to concede at all, to be honest with you. I'm not saying that Brighton won't be a threat, but they certainly will be a threat. They really will be. We saw what they did to Manchester United, and a lot of people might turn around and say, "Whoa, that's Manchester United. They're in a different moment right now. They're in a completely negative area." We've been there. We've been in negative areas where we've come up against teams that we think, yeah, we should beat this lot, and they don't. We've been there. Manchester United are there right now. So let's not look at that as an example. But what Brighton have shown so far already is that they are a threat. They are willing to go at you, and they can pick you off. They really, really can. They've got threats out wide, which is where, at least I think it was the first goal, which was Glenn Murray's nice little reverse dink over David De Gea. That's where it came from. Came from out wide, cuts in, passes it really fast with pace along the box, and it goes in. It goes in, and that is where it came from. I'm wondering whether Brighton will be one of the teams that maybe they're not going to try and play that way against us. Maybe they adapt their tactics for each game, which I assume is what we are going to do as well. But with the pace and power that we have in our team, I don't think that way of playing is going to be successful for Brighton. It could be, and I could absolutely be wrong. At the moment, I've got tweets coming up on my iPad as well, because Jurgen Klopp's doing his press conference right now as we're speaking, talking about injuries, and at the moment there isn't any brand new injuries. Obviously, I think Lovren is still not training. I think Matip is back. I don't think there's anything wrong with Fabinho. People obviously questioning why he wasn't in the squad against Crystal Palace, but I think Fabinho will come into the side. I think it could be a little bit like Oxlade-Chamberlain. When we signed Oxlade-Chamberlain, he didn't start straight away. He made a couple of substitute appearances here and there, and even on those sub appearances, he was playing out wide, wasn't playing in centre midfield. So I think it's going to be one of those things with Fabinho. We're going to get him in. Dejan Lovren is coming closer, but he's not going to be fit for this game. So that is, I'm perfectly happy with the starting lineup that we're going to go with. And I'm going to run you through that right now. Let's get into that. So my starting lineup for this game is it's going to be pretty much unchanged. I don't have a reason for changing it, to be honest. I really don't. That team was very, very good against West Ham. That team battled very, very well against Crystal Palace and picked up the win. For me, I have no issues with that lineup. I really don't. I still expect, Alisson in goal, Robertson on the left-hand side. I still expect Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right-hand side. Maybe he might switch it out for Nathaniel Klein, but I don't see a reason why to do that. Trent is doing brilliant so far, and the same with Andy Robertson. He's doing brilliant so far. Van Dijk and Gomez are forming a very good partnership right now, which we saw glimpses of in pre-season when they got to play together. It was really, really good. Now that they're playing in competitive matches together, it looks really, really good. You've got the leader, the age and the experience, and the sheer skill and talent of Virgil van Dijk. And then you've got the raw, untapped, but it's starting to be tapped talent of Joe Gomez, who looks like a natural centre-back. Whenever he was playing left-back and right-back for us, he has the build and the stature of someone that could be a centre-back, and that looks like it's going to be his perfect position. And he's got the perfect partner. We've got the experience and the age and everything like that, the brilliance of Virgil van Dijk at the age of 27, and we've got that all to come from Joe Gomez as well. We've got that all to come. He's 21 years old. He's still got so much time to grow as a centre-back. Your career can be a lot longer than, say, an outfield, like a more outfield player, like a creative midfielder or a striker or a winger or stuff like that. It looks like a really great partnership, and that partnership can become a great trio as well with Alisson, that's absolutely brilliant, and it's key. It really is key. Having those people play together with the quality that they have is going to be brilliant for us to have a solid defence. So I'm happy with that. I really am. I'm happy with that. Going into midfield is where maybe, you could make a change, and maybe there will be a change. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they want to freshen up that midfield, but at the moment, I don't see a reason to change it. Now, if we aren't going to change it, that means it would be Milner, Wijnaldum and Naby Keita. Not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. Naby Keita looks class. Milner looks like an ageless wonder. He is absolutely brilliant, and he's equally as good and wowing us just as much as Keita is. And Gini Wijnaldum is doing his job very, very well. While it's quite understated, a bit quieter in his role, he is doing very, very well at his job as well. You could bring in Jordan Henderson for James Milner. You could bring in Jordan Henderson for Gini Wijnaldum. You could bring in Fabinho for either Wijnaldum or Milner. We've got options here, and if we want to freshen things up, maybe give. In my eyes, I think we will go with the same starting 11, the starting midfield as well, with Wijnaldum, Milner, and Keita. And then in the second half, I think that's where we might see the first appearance of Fabinho in the Premier League. We might. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, then we get into the front line, and the only change that people might make, and it might shock a few people, would be maybe Mohamed Salah. Didn't have his best game against Crystal Palace. He was in the right areas, and he was a constant threat. He won the penalty that put us 1-0 up at the start. He didn't get a player sent off, but obviously if the player didn't foul him, he would have scored a goal anyway. So he got that. I think it was Wan-Bissaka. He got sent off for Crystal Palace. So other than that, though, he just didn't necessarily look as sharp as he always has. And maybe he doesn't start the game. Maybe Shaqiri comes in and has his first taste of Premier League action with Liverpool. I'm not entirely sure. That could happen, and I'd be happy with that. Because then you've got Mohamed Salah. If anything, get him on the second half. We never know. We've got options. Same with Mane. Mane's been on fire. I expect Mane to start. There's no reason why not to. And Firmino has been an odd one for people online, especially people saying that he's not affecting the game very well. But you've got to look at where Firmino actually was in that game. He was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. There wasn't really a blade of grass that didn't have Firmino's butt. Firmino, that's his name. Firmino, I get it right all the time. Come on. There wasn't a blade of grass that was not touched by Firmino's boots. That is just a fact. He was everywhere in that game. He worked so hard. He was supporting the defence, he was supporting the midfield, and he was supporting the attack as best as he could. He was doing so well. And in only his second game back in competitive play after the World Cup, I think he only got maybe 2 not full 90-minute games in pre-season. He's doing well. He is doing well. So that could be my starting 11 as well. And even so, if that is your starting 11, great, because then look at your bench, okay? If we start with Salah, then Shaqiri's on the bench, brilliant, that's excellent. Sturridge would be on the bench as well. Depending on what your midfield would be, my midfield would be, I don't think you'd change it. I think it'd be Milner, Keita and Wijnaldum. Then wow, look what you've got on the bench. You've got your captain, Jordan Henderson, and then you've got Fabinho as well. You've got options in there. We've got options that we can bring on at any point, and we can switch and change things, change systems, change everything that we need to adapt to the game that is happening. This is a nice place to be in because we've got these options, and that is a great position to be in. Brighton will carry their threats, no doubt. They've got physical players like Glenn Murray, but I think, you know, we've already seen it against Crystal Palace. We can deal with the physical threats. We can deal with those people. You know, Glenn Murray, big physical presence, and he can score goals in the box. But we've shown that we can deal with that. Christian Benteke is one of the biggest, most physical strikers. Probably Lukaku is probably literally the biggest, the tank of the Premier League. But Benteke is a big physical presence as well. Dealt with him handily dealt with him. Benteke, one of, you know, he's always known for winning headers and such like that. Don't think he won one. Maybe he won one. I think one header he won, and it got saved by Alisson anyway. Other than that, everything else was took care of by Van Dijk and Joe Gomez. And Alisson, I think we've got enough, more than enough, to get the win against Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton either, because they will cause us problems, they will cause us threats. I just think that we are in a moment right now which sees us in a very strong position, a stronger position than we've been in at the start of any season I can remember in recent memory. Maybe going back to 13-14 season, where I think we won our 2 out of our first 3, and even then we didn't, you know, we are scoring goals right now, whereas I think we opened the season with a Daniel Sturridge goal, 1-0, that we won it. And then the next game after that, I think we had like a couple of 1-0s that were just Daniel Sturridge, because Suarez was out for 6 games after biting Ivanovic or whatever it was. Anyway, getting off track. I think we've got enough to get this game and get this win. I really do. And I think, I think we could score a good few goals here, but I'm going to try and be a little bit conservative here. And I'm going to go for another 2-0 victory for Liverpool. And I think being at home as well, this will be a really good game for us. And I think if we can, by the time we play on Saturday, I can't remember who else is playing that day, when people are playing, but I know on Sunday, I think it is. No, it's Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football, Tottenham versus Man United. At least both of those teams, one of those teams is going to drop points, or both of them will if they draw. Things are, teams are playing each other right now that could play into our hands as well in terms of our league position and in terms of how strong we can start this season. Make a marker. If we come out of this weekend and we've won 3 games out of 3, I wouldn't have expected that. I really wouldn't. And it mean we'd have 9 points on the board, and we'd most likely be keeping chase with Manchester City. I can't remember who Man City play. I think it's Wolves. So I'm expecting that Man City are going to pick up the 3 points as well. And then do we go into an international break after this? I'm not entirely sure, but that comes around really quickly. I'm sick of international breaks already, and we haven't even had one yet. Anyway, that is my prediction. 2-0 to Liverpool. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know it in the comments below. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do like it and subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you once again, and I will catch you later.